Welcome back. This Women's Month, Artscape aims to be a haven for all communities as they showcase productions by women throughout August. This is through their 16th edition of the Women Humanities Arts Festival, which is currently underway until the 27th of August. Now, to tell us more about this and how it's creating a space of care this Women's Month, we're joined on Zoom by Artscape CEO Marlene Le Roux, and she is about to tell us more. Good morning, Marlene. Welcome to Morning Live. I mean, this year's edition of the Artscape Women Humanities Arts Festival. Speak to us more about this and what you are doing, differently this year.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. It is also our call for a month of compassion, and it must be right through the year, especially with the horrific brutality that is happening against women. And it's important that we use the arts as a vehicle to speak to our nation. How can we reignite ourselves? How can we revive our NGOs on the ground to look at what is the surge of this gender-based violence in particular? So we have a jam-packed program which will say it's more an action of compassion. We have started already on the 1st of August. We will be having tomorrow the book launch of Women of Soil, which was with the only theatre that has a space for, through Women's Zone, a space for women to write up their stories. And it's 10 women that wrote up their stories about nurturing, about gardens. And we're having workshops for women with disabilities on how to look at entrepreneurships, how to apply for jobs. Yes, of course, it's important for us because we have Unmute Dance Company, who's a professional dance company for persons with disabilities. They are traveling the world. They'll also be showcasing. And specifically on the 9th of August, we're going to have a circle of care, which will be led by Vicky Sampson, Black Pearl, Balwisa Base, who's going to lead us in poetry. We're going to plant trees, and we will have a singing of choirs on the steps of Artscape, where we will have choir, we will have joyful harmonies, and we're inviting boys, men, girls, and women, because this scourge of violence, we can only come together as a nation and address this brutality together, and then decide how we're going to look at, with government, with everybody, and we're having an interfaith process and a program where we will have a moment of silence for all the victims during COVID, who died during COVID because of gender-based violence, because it was horrific, and also the brutal killings that is happening. The evening we will have also the Unlikely Secret Agent, which is about the life of the stalwart of Eleanor Casserols, and it's based on the book that was written by Ronnie Casserols. And then we will have paying tribute to the LGBTQ plus community, who's going to perform in drag. Manila Tees, as we all know, is a brilliant artist, and we say to this community, we're all part of the human race, and we want to embrace everybody, and this is about humanity. So that particular production is taking place on the 9th of August. So we urge people, please go on our website www.artscape.co.za. Very important that we must be part of this conversation, but we must also take action, because this can't go on. So we as Artscape, we use the arts as a vehicle to speak to the nation, and that everybody can be part of this.
Now, speak to us about some of the themes that will run across for the festival.
One of the themes is the caring theme, where we say we need not just to forget about the women and about young boys that's been brutalized in during this time, but also even before COVID. We can't be silent about this. And our productions are based on this, where we addressing the uncomfortability about this particular, it's not even a subject, it is about a pandemic that we need to stop. We're also going to have empowering a theme, which is about where we're giving workshops, where young people and especially artists who has been not having a job can come on the 11th and the 12th to Artscape between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, where we will have the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture that will engage with artists and companies how to apply for funding, what is there that they can also put up their productions. As Artscape, we're very clear that we are the home for artists, but it's also important that artists needs to know where can they get funding to create new work, to use the arts as a vehicle for empowering.
What for you have you seen that the festival, the impact it has on some of the issues that you're trying to highlight?
The impact of the festival is that it's really touched people, that there's a space that people can come to, where they can actively write their messages. We're having a very big collage where people write their messages, where people can plant a tree, go back to their communities, because various NGOs will be part of the 9th of August, where we will again lobbying government, lobbying funders, lobbying the municipalities, because women come from all walks of life, that they can meet up with each other so that civil society can again play a viable impact on our communities. Because just contacting the NGOs, that was very important, was bled to death because they're not getting the funding. We are saying to government, take hands with civil society so that they can make the difference, like the Walking Ladies of Bontivo, that we can take hands with the community arts centers so that they can again take it onto the ground level. So that is the impact that we are currently seeing in the communities. We are just a vehicle that can bring people together and that they can exchange what they are doing, in order also that as communities geographically can meet, but also can learn from each other.
And speak to us about how the public can also be involved. Apart from the public wall, what else can we do as society to highlight the issues that the Artscape is trying to, put the spotlight on?
We're urging, that is why we're having an interfaith process on the 9th of August. We're asking all the religious groups that we need to re-look at our practices in our church. How do we empower women? How are we going to look at where, if there are religious practices that are telling women that you must still be submissive, that is actually telling that the violence in your homes can take place. We're also appealing to cultural practices through this process. Re-look at our cultural practices so that we can re-change our mindset on how to respect women and give women their rightful place in society. All throughout centuries on our continent, women have played an impactful role in our society. We need to actively, in all spheres of our society, combat this gender-based violence. It is now and not later.
Mm-hmm. How do we carry the message across throughout the year? So not only in August are we focusing on this, but throughout the year, and we're highlighting these issues.
We're having outright the year, we're having programs and productions, and we're inviting schools. We have set works for grade 12s that specifically speak to the violence, but also speaking to a more caring community, because we need to go back to our constitution, respect for women, and especially economic empowerment of women, and that is important. So for us, it's not just a hit and run. We then give to NGOs the beautiful theatre space that they can meet free of charge, that they can say, how are we going to look forward, but also empowering of girl women. And that's important, that we need to say to girls, and through educational programs, is about how do we respect ourselves, and also to say that if we are in an abusive relationship, where can we go to? How do we give young women this particular, and also women that is in an abusive relationship? How can, and this is not just about poor women, I want to make it very clear, it's also feminist women that also can't get out of abusive relationships because of not having a job or don't have the economic empowerment.
All right, Marlene Le Roux, thank you so much for talking to us. Always have a pleasure having you on the program, CEO of Artscape, and she just joined us talking to us about this year's Women and Humanities Festival set to take place this week. All right, let's say good morning to our music.